The Patriots on the football field was the Super Bowl. Their head coach, a different story. Mike Vrabel has been embroiled in what he calls a personal and private matter after photos surfaced of Vrabel and now former NFL insider for The Athletic, Dianna Russini, at a luxury resort together in Arizona. Vrabel said earlier this week that he's had difficult conversations with family, and yesterday told our Mike Reese that he will step away from the Patriots to receive counseling and plans to be with his family this weekend outside of Massachusetts, meaning he will not be with the team for the third day of the draft on Saturday. So, Stephen A., now this becomes a football conversation. Your thoughts on Mike Vrabel?
Well, it ain't just a football conversation for me, and I'd be anxious to hear what you have to say in a minute, because I think your words are more important than mine, to be quite honest with you, on this particular subject. Here's what I want to say. I think he threw Dianna Russini under the bus, because we didn't need to hear all of that from Mike Vrabel. What did he really tell us? You know what I'm saying? I mean, the bottom line is this. You know, nobody knew anything. We could speculate all we want. We saw pictures of them poolside together, her in a bikini, him in a shirtless top. Outside of that, some other video with them holding hands. That's about it. That's all we saw. We don't know anything else beyond that. They're both married with children, all right? And people can speculate all they want to, but we didn't know anything. So he could have kept his mouth shut and just went about the business of coaching his football team. Instead, he let stuff dangle for 2 weeks, and then he comes out with a press conference and basically said he had to have a difficult conversation with his family. Well, we know what that means. That difficult conversation was with the wife. Let's call it what it is. That's what that conversation was about. And quite frankly, I mean, at that particular moment in time, now you get to speculate even further as to what all of that means. So I thought that had he said anything, had he said nothing, it would have been far less incriminating than what it ends up looking like now. She has already resigned, and I'm not here to cast any aspersions on her. She worked here for 10 years. I know her to be a good person. I know her to be an outstanding reporter who worked very, very hard to do the best job that she can possibly do. But there is no question that she put herself in a compromising situation, because when you are a reporter covering that particular sport, with stories that you have written emanating out of that particular camp, that team, and you are seen in somewhat of a compromising position with the coach, you're going to be the one that looks bad. He's a football coach, okay? And in the end, is that he's not reporting on himself, she's reporting on him. So the professional onus is really on her. He's got a personal problem with his family at home, and clearly he admitted as much. Why he's going to be there going from day 3, but he's going to be there for days 1 and 2 makes no sense to me. If you could be there for days 1 and 2, why can't you be there for day 3? And if you're not going to be going, if you're going to be going for day 3, why be there for day 1 and 2? There are other people within the New England Patriots organization that are equipped to handle that. In the end, it's an unfortunate situation. I think it definitely puts her in a very, very compromising position, unfortunately. And with him, I think that he would have been better served shutting the hell up, keeping his mouth shut, and keeping his personal business to his personal stuff and his family. But because he didn't do that, I think he ended up incriminating himself and her even more than when he did if he had just shut up.
So I will say this. I appreciated Mike Vrabel going to the mic because it took the onus off the players, who they would have probably been asked about this situation, and why would they have to comment on something that has to do with him and his personal life? I am in no position to comment on someone's relationship or marriage or whatever. That is their personal business. I will say this, though. I don't love the fact, now, as I said, I feel like it becomes a football situation, that Mike Vrabel has to be away from his team on Saturday on day 3 of the draft. Why? Why can't you be away on Monday? Why does this have to become my business that I know when you're going to counseling? I don't want this to be my business. I didn't want any of this to be my business, quite frankly. So what they do in their personal time is up to them. But now this creates a situation where we have to talk about it on this show. We didn't want to talk about this on this show.
Not at all.
So we have to sit here and talk about it now, because he told us that he's going to go to counseling on Saturday, day 3 of the draft. And that's where I feel like this has now become maybe a problem and a little bit of a distraction to his football team.
And bottom line is this. We can say it any way we want to, but all of us have a responsibility. We have a responsibility to make sure that we uphold ourselves at a very professional standard, particularly as it pertains to the people that we actually cover. Like, for example, if she was covering the NFL and she was found in this compromising position with an NBA coach or a hockey coach or something, nobody would care. But when you're covering the NFL and you've you've broken the stories that she's broken or reported on the stories that she's reported on, and it's directly relatable to the subject at hand, meaning the Patriots organization and its head coach, Mike Vrabel. Now that brings so many things into question. If you remember her statement when she departed from the Athletic, what did she say? She stands by every story that she has written. So all of a sudden, those things become suspect and open for scrutiny and questioning. And that's the unfortunate part of it, because the Dianna Russini that I know has been an outstanding reporter and a good person, and we all enjoyed her being here for the 10 years that she was here at this network. I'm not casting any aspersions on her whatsoever, but the predicament she found herself in, all of us have to be.
The Raiders plan to select Fernando Mendoza with the top overall pick. While this selection has long seemed a foregone conclusion, General Manager John Spytek tells me they still went through a complete evaluation to ensure the Heisman-winning QB would be a good fit. Spytek telling me, I want the whole building to know and everybody to know. We did the work, and if we end up where everybody expects us to end up, I'll know on our end that we had the right process. When asked what he likes about Mendoza, first-year head coach Clint Kubiak says he's a winner. He's accurate, quick, strong, and intelligent.
All right, here's the headline in the New York Post on Wednesday. On edge, what will the Jets do at number 2? Which edge rusher will they take? Will it be Arvell Reese of Ohio State or David Bailey of Texas Tech? And at number 16, the Jets also have choices. Darren Muji, the GM, has been on the phones talking to other teams. Perhaps the Jets move up to take Jordan Tyson, a wide receiver out of Arizona State, or if they think he will slip later in the first round, do they move down? There is no expectation whatsoever that the Jets will take the quarterback of the future in the first round.
I've been here at the Giants facility the last 2 days, and here's what I've learned. Number 1, head coach John Harbaugh does more draft prep, I'm told, than most NFL coaches. And 2, he and GM Joe Schoen have been in constant communication throughout this entire process. Like on Monday, the two of them spent hours in Schoen's office going over, quote, 1 million draft scenarios. And at one point, Harbaugh meant to pop in. 2 hours later, the two of them were still talking until they finally looked at each other and said, all right, let's get some sleep and hit it again tomorrow.
Well, if the Cowboys draft is anywhere near as eventful as the day before their draft, we're in for some fun. During their pre-draft press conference, which lasted almost a full hour, we had an unexpected appearance from former President Bill Clinton, who chatted with his Arkansas friend Jerry Jones in front of the assembled media, and that was before the Cowboys said they would not be negotiating with wide receiver George Pickens for a long-term deal, instead planning for him to play on the franchise tag. Now, especially interesting since the Cowboys are a defensive-needy team. But Jones said even though they do need defensive players in this draft, with the 12th and 20th overall picks, they could still go with an offensive player. Case in point, Jones noted that the Cowboys were a defensive-needy team back in 2020 when they used their 17th overall pick on wide receiver CeeDee Lamb. In other words, here in Dallas, expect the usual, entertaining and eventful.